back to Core4Power. Jade Molina here. I have two very special guests that I'm really excited about today. I have two NFL veterans. They both played in the NFL. I am excited to interview them. We're going to be talking about life, going through the Core4Power questions with them, and we're going to be talking about life transitions. Both these gentlemen have had some major life transitions in their life, and I am talking with Mr. Skip Hicks and Mr. Billy Miller. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, all right. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Skip Hicks first because I'm the oldest one here.
Yes, you guys are old.
Yeah, I'm old. You're the pup, Billy.
Yeah, well.
All right. So Skip is a little bit younger than I am. And Mr. Skip Hicks, the senior of these two guests, played for UCLA. He was a running back, if I'm correct, between the years of 1993 and 1997.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. You actually are a record holder of touchdowns in a season.
Yes.
How many is that?
I want to say it was 57.
57.
Well, in my career, I want to say it might have been 26.
26.
Yes.
You had 26 touchdowns in one season, and that was your overall touchdowns is a Pac-10 record.
Yes.
Is that still carried today?
I want to say, I'm not for sure. I want to say.
You're supposed to know these things, Coach.
I want to say Lindell White might have tied it one year.
Okay.
I'm not for sure, but I think.
Where did he go to school?
He went to SC.
Oh, okay.
He did. He went to SC.
Weird.
Just so you know,
Yeah. He might have tied
Core4Power
it.
tribe.
But I did it in 2 years, though. I did it pretty much in 2 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that
We have a Bruin and a
says-
Trojan here today. And so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
telling
well.
you, I know both these gentlemen, they both like to talk a lot. They like to brag on each other and their schools, respective schools and teams.
yes.
And so I have no idea where this is going to go, but it's going to be fun. So we have Skip Hicks. He played for UCLA, running back 93 to 97.
Yes.
He is a record holder in most touchdowns in a season, 26. Overall touchdowns in your college career, 55 to 57. When I looked it up, I thought it was 55, but we'll give you 57.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give it to you.
Why not? I had a lot against SC, so.
UCLA All-American, Pac-10 record holder, and you actually were nominated as a Heisman Trophy winner.
Well, candidate.
Candidate.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
as a Heisman Trophy
Yes.
candidate
Yes.
during your career. You were a third-round draft pick
Yes.
in the NFL, so you were the 69th pick overall.
Yes.
That is correct, right?
Yes.
And you spent 4 years in the NFL
Yeah.
over 3 teams.
Yes.
What teams were they?
Well, I got drafted with the Redskins. So I was there for 3 years. Tennessee 2, Carolina 2, and kind of Cincinnati 1. So I have what they would call 4 credible years, but I probably was there for like 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's weird how it works in the league.
So you were around the league for a while.
Yeah. I retired back in 05.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for being here. This conversation is going to be fun. I want to introduce our other guest. Well, if you're watching this podcast, you can go over to my YouTube channel, or you can go to my website, jademolina.com, and you're going to see how big I am compared to these two guys. These are two big men playing the NFL, and the next big man is Billy Miller. Know Billy well.
I need you to, before we start, I need my stats to be bumped. You gave him 2 touchdowns. My stats will not be close to that, so I need them elevated.
But you had more years in the NFL.
You gave him a lot of stuff that just happened right there. So
See,
just wanna
I
make
told
sure.
you. I warned you before we started the way this was going to go.
Okay,
All
but
right,
go
we're
ahead.
just
I'm
getting started.
going to just
Okay.
listen first.
So Billy Miller played for
what teams?
USC.
The USC,
The
yes.
USC.
Yes, absolutely.
And you guys were contemporaries, right? You were a wide receiver at USC.
I was.
Between 95 and 98.
99 was
Okay.
the year I got drafted, so that season, yes.
Okay, so you guys, did you ever play
Yes.
against? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
And in my recruiting trips from Westlake High School, I remember seeing this young man play. And although we do talk a lot of mess to each other, I am constantly bragging on Skip. I think that it's unfortunate that some of the younger kids that we coached together don't realize what a fantastic football player he was. He went to the wrong school, but that has nothing to do with the fact that he was a phenomenal football player.
Well, I almost went to SC.
Yeah.
Almost.
I'm from Texas, so.
Does that
honestly,
count? Does that get any points for almost going to USC?
I mean, you know what? We could have used him.
Okay.
So because I know him, there's 2 Bruins that I'm just okay with. and Skip's one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the other one?
Bruce Davis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get him on the show one time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Well, in your third year at SC,
Mhm.
you had 56 catches. That was your career high, I believe.
Okay.
Is that true?
That sounds about right. So he had 57 touchdowns at 56 catches. That's about right.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, you were 5th Pac-10 that year.
Yep.
Okay, overall.
Mhm.
And so you did some things. You were a 7th round draft pick.
Yes.
218th overall.
That was a long couple days.
Long couple days.
Wow. Yes.
Okay. Well, and here's the crazy. I mean, 3rd round, 7th round, around in the league for 8 years, Skip. Billy in the league for 9 to 11, right?
Yes.
Total about 11 years.
Yeah. So I have 10 credited seasons, as he was saying, and then 1 year I got hurt and got cut. So I was on a team. I didn't make that team to the beginning of the roster, so I didn't get a credited season for that.
That was early in your career, though, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you came back and had a long-standing
Yes.
career.
Yeah.
Very good. And what teams did you play for?
I got drafted to the Denver Broncos right after they had won 2 Super Bowls. So although I was a 7th-round draft pick, I was like, this is exciting. I'm going to just go win a Super Bowl real quick. But then John Elway retired, and then we did not win any Super Bowls. There for 3 years, went to Houston for 3 years, which was a fantastic experience. Went to Cleveland for 1. I hope no one from Cleveland is watching. Just terrible, awful experience. And then my last 4 years, I was in New Orleans with the Saints.
Well, I'm going to let you guys talk on other shows about all that, crazy, favorite team, how good, how bad teams were, all that. We're going to talk about something a little different on Core4Power today. But I appreciate both you guys being here. And I'd really like to hear you guys talk a little bit just about your experience of playing NFL football. I mean, up until your mid-20s, 30s, right, even into your 30s, the only really career that you guys knew as men was playing football.
That's right.
And so what was that? What was it like? We let the old man
Yeah,
go
yeah,
first, so we're
absolutely.
going to let the young guy go.
Oh, okay.
First this time.
The experience in playing in the playing in the NFL, playing football in the NFL is I don't know if you can put it into words. I mean, you also think that, I'm sure like Skip, you start doing something when you're 7 years old, right? And this dream of making it to the highest possible level and really working your entire life. And I literally mean your entire life to get to that goal and then to finally make it is unbelievable. The unfortunate thing is sometimes when you get there, you don't realize how special it is to be there. And you forget all the work that it took you to get there. And then somewhere there's a little bit of loss in translation a little bit once you get there because now you've arrived, right? Now you're there. And I think my career was kind of like that. I think my first couple years in the NFL was one that was I was just happy to be there, right? I didn't work as hard. I didn't focus. I didn't do the things that I promised myself that I would do because I'm here.
You've arrived.
And then once you get there, you firmly believe in your heart that you will be here forever, right? Like I'm going to be the first, I play wide receiver first. I'm going to be the first receiver to play for 50. I mean, like you mentally really think that there's no way you're leaving. And I think that, once you get back to the basics and you realize how blessed you are, if you will, to absolutely have the opportunity to play in the NFL and get back on track, it was a phenomenal experience. I don't know how long we got. I could do this all day, but it was also a very trying. It speaks to your character, who you are as a man. It speaks to your adversity. It speaks to how you handle the good, the bad, and the ugly. It is the ultimate test of character. Not only the game of football, which I firmly believe is a test of character, but being in that lifestyle is a tremendous test of character.
There's nothing you can't get, I mean, when you're at that level. I mean, you're handed everything on a silver platter, so I can imagine that in and of itself poses extreme challenges because you are a superstar.
But that also starts when you're in high school. I mean, I'm sure for Skip as well, you become mythical almost. I mean, you become something bigger than yourself because, I mean, I'm like, once again, I'm sure like Skip, I mean, I'm signing autographs in high school, right, for grown men, for moms and little kids. And you start to believe your press clippings a little bit. It's hard to stay grounded when, listen, football is the biggest sport in America, and it's not even close. And to have the ability to have the talent early on and then to continue to carry it, it's interesting. It's interesting how others perceive you. It's interesting how then you therefore start perceiving yourself. So it was interesting. It was interesting.
Mr. Skip,
Yes,
well,
yes.
talk to us a little bit about your experience.
It's funny because mine might have been kind of an opposite of his.
Hmm.
Coming out of this little small town in Texas, coming to UCLA, I was kind of on a mission, you know. I came out to UCLA, like I said, I almost went to SC. Real close to going. I kind of, I wouldn't say I verbally committed, but I told my dad I was going to go to SC. And kind of changed my mind right at the last minute and went to UCLA. So when I came out on a mission. And, you know, going through UCLA, making All-American, I was told I was going to be a top 10 pick, you know. So when I went in the third round, I had a chip on my shoulder. I came out upset, you know. So
you're going in the NFL, but you're upset because you didn't go earlier.
Yeah, it was a long, like Billy was saying, it was a long couple of days. It was a long couple of hours. It was the longest 4 hours of my life because when you have guys telling you, oh, you're going to be, you know, first rounder, you know, you're going to be at least a top 15 pick, and you're sitting there seeing guys, you know, I want to say there was like 6 running backs picked in the first round. And I'm sitting there like, what's going on, you know? And I ended up getting picked in the third round. I had a huge chip on my shoulder. So when I went into the Redskins, I was like, you know, I didn't say anything. I came in like I came in college. I came in on a mission. So when I came in, I had a huge chip on my shoulder. I really did.
So did that drive you to work harder because you had something to prove?
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt I had something to prove, and I did. And I ended up starting halfway in the season. You know, I want to say it was about the 5th or 6th game, I ended up starting there at the Redskins.
So I've heard and I've read that I guess the longevity of an NFL career is what, 2.5 or 3.5 years or something like that.
It moves. It was 3.
Okay.
You know, 3.
But
to
it's
2.
short-lived.
Short. It's very short. Yeah.
It's a short-lived career, and both of you are over 5. You're into 8. You're into 10, and so I got a buddy who I worked with in the past. His name's Colby Lewis. He's a pitcher for the Texas Rangers. And one time we were talking about just his career and everything, and he said when he made it to the big leagues, he said something that just stuck with me. He said, making it to the big leagues was one of the hardest things I ever did, but staying here is by far harder.
I mean, just real quick to speak to that, I know Skip was talking, but what we don't understand as a college kid going in the NFL is you're there to take a grown man's job. You're there to take food off of someone's table, literally, right? In order for me to make the team, they have to cut someone. And most likely going to cut someone who has been there. And that, like for me, right, as you get older, and I'm sure for Skip, as you get older, and he's in the draft, I watched the draft. I'm like, okay, who is it? Who's coming to take the food off my plate? And then that became motivation, right? Like they bring in a new group of guys every Tuesday to work out to make the team. And in order for one of those guys to make the team, either someone got hurt or they're about to cut somebody. And it is a competitive, a relentless, zero loyalty.
Yeah.
It is just about winning, right? Which isn't necessarily, I'm saying, is a bad thing, but at any cost.
So what I'm hearing, and I hear this between both of you, is that when you are at that level, playing at such a high level of professional sports, there is that tension between game day and the glory of game day. Walking out on a field with the cheering fans, and you are the king, and you're part of a team that's just, you know, praised. And then the day-to-day stuff you got to do to get there, and not knowing if you're going to make it.
Yeah, because people think, oh, if somebody come in, they're going to replace what we might consider the worst guy on the team. No, it doesn't work like that. You know, they might sit there and say, okay, we need this guy here, and so we have to release this guy only because this is what the numbers tell us. So necessarily, it might not be that guy that made the mistake that Sunday. They might be like, okay, we might need to go in because with this team, we might need an extra linebacker because this team has an extra tackle or a tight end or something like that. I mean, it's a game. It's a numbers game. It really is. So, I mean, you go into a week, it's nerve-wracking. It really is nerve-wracking at that level.
We could go on for probably all the rest of the evening talking about your playing days and the excitement of it and the stadiums and the friendships you fostered with people, the big names that you guys got to sit down and dine with and all that. But one of the things that I think that is going to be valuable for our Core4Power tribe. That's the name of the group, the audience, Power Tribe. They're looking for nuggets. They want to hear from people that can help them and thrive in their life. And that both of you gentlemen have went through transitions out of that high level of professional sports to normal life, living normal life. You're both involved in coaching. You both have children, and you have other people you got to care for. You're going into shopping malls now and the restaurants, and maybe not getting noticed. Like maybe you did back in the day, and so now you're living a normal life. You're in your 40s. You're chasing 40.
Yeah.
I'm the old man of the group, but I'd like to hear you guys talk and share your thoughts and your experience on life transitions. What's it like? What do you go through when you go from NFL to normal life? Because I think your experience is going to bring value to other people that go through life transitions. Maybe not from a pro athlete to whatever, but changing jobs. Many, many, many aspects of life transition. Skip, what was it? When did you know it was over?
I think I was one of the very few people that walked away. I walked away. It came to a point where my desire to be with my family was greater than to be on that football field. Um, I I saw my family, me, my wife, and my son spread apart,
Mm.
and I couldn't allow that to happen. That's when my faith started to get strong, and I realized, as the man of the house, if I wasn't there, there's no way that my family was going to stay together. I saw that happening, and there was a lot of different examples in football that was showing me that. You would see it with a lot of the coaches. I mean, whether it was divorce or whether they were having issues with their kids, and you would see all kind of little examples like that. And I started paying attention to that stuff. And I was always on the East Coast. Family was always on the West Coast, and it came to a point where it
So
really,
you guys were living as a long distance family.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And honestly, I was missing my son. It was just I was not having fun. I would go out on the field and I was having no fun because I was missing my son, and my desire to be home was much greater.
Mm.
So I was like, I don't need it anymore.
When did you know it was done? Because anybody that followed your career knew when it was over.
Yeah,
but I want you to talk about it.
So my last year, I tore my Achilles,
Mm-hmm.
and so but that's not when I thought it was done. So I tore my Achilles, and I couldn't play that season, obviously.
And that was what year?
That was the year we won the Super Bowl.
2009, when the New Orleans Saints
Yes.
won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so the year we won the Super Bowl, I tore my Achilles in the season, and that's a whole nother story. But I just felt that I could come back from it. I just felt like, you know what, like this is a further discussion of a conversation, but I felt like at the time I got God. I'll figure it out, right? Like in my experience personally, I just always felt like when me and God are cool, I'm good, right? Like, so I'm going to just pray, I'm going to honor him, and then I'm going to get back on this football field. And I'm not having it, like in my mind, it was so clear that I was going to play the following year. And when you're over 30 and you tear your Achilles and then you try to go back and play at that level, it was impossible. My body didn't recuperate the same. You're just not 22 or 23 years old anymore, where your body just figures it out. And so I think I started getting calls the next season, and I had to be honest with myself at that point and say, you're going to be a fool if you go out there. Like Skip knows this term, is that there's a lot of old guys that we say are stealing, right? You see them all the time in the league. Like the old dude, like you're only on the team because you're like cool with the coach's wife. Like you're terrible. Like you're old. Like stop playing. And I had this image in my head that I was going to be that guy. Before that, I could always step on the field and prove to everyone I deserved to be there. And then there came that point where I was like, I'm going to be the guy that's stealing. And it's a lot of money to steal, don't get me wrong. But I was just going to be there because they felt bad for me. I couldn't play at the same level anymore. So I made a decision.
So two interesting times in your lives, Skip and Billy, where yours was a a huge family issue and a desire. You had just come off of a big season in 2008 where you had, I think, some of the most catches you had in your career
in a
in one
while.
season
Yeah.
in a while, and so you were thriving,
Mm-hmm.
and then you tear your Achilles tendon, and now you're faced with transition.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to transition out, but your heart's leaning that way.
Yeah.
You've kind of realized, Billy, that okay, now I'm going to have to not play football anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Did you face any identity crisis? Was there?
I Billy probably can relate to this one too. Um, I went through a lot of transitions before I walked away because before my son was born, you have this. I know for me, there wasn't nothing I couldn't do or felt I couldn't do. You know how sometimes people always say, especially in church, when they're always like, sometimes you forget that you've actually been thrown out there. You know, you think you've thrown yourself out there. I was that guy. I don't feel there was anything I couldn't do. If I needed to score 10 touchdowns, I can do it. If I need to lift this, I can do it. I felt invincible. Like, I can run all day. I was in the best shape of my life. It wasn't nothing I couldn't do. There was times where I was in Tennessee one time, and I was like seconds from having a knee stroke. And it was like, oh, well, I don't care. I can still go. You know, until my son was born, where I realized there was somebody else depending on me, I never thought of it in a different light. You know, maybe it's a mentality that men have. And when you're at that level.
So what I'm hearing is that your invincibility, you started thinking about that after you had your child, after you had your son.
I started
and that was a
slowing
transition
down.
in and of
That was
itself.
one of a transition. I honestly started slowing down, and I started scaring myself because I started thinking, what if this would have happened? What if this happens now? What if that happened and I can't do this? He's depending on me. What if things started scaring me, and I started slowing down. That's when I was like, okay, hey, every time I step out in this field now, what if I do get hurt?
So based off of that transition and then others that you had, when you actually exited the NFL, did it affect your identity? Did you struggle with that? I want to transition into what were the struggles that you went through mentally, psychologically, as you transitioned out of the NFL? What are some of the transition issues you had to deal with?
Slowing myself down, meaning that the good thing about being in the football field and the NFL, if there's ever a problem, you can always solve it out there on the field. Anytime there's an issue, you can solve it out there on the field. You go in the locker room, okay, we're good. In the real world, you can't do that. You know, somebody, says something to you or, flick you off or something like that. You can't go and be like, what? You can't do that. That's one of the things is slowing yourself down. That took a little bit, and realizing that everybody can't do everything on your level. When you see going to the little games, when I started coaching my son's little league games, realizing, well, they're only 6 and 7 years old. Your mind is still going.
It's like, why don't you get this?
Yeah, your mind is still going on an NFL level, and you're like, okay, they're 6 years old. They can't, they can't run a post corner like Billy can run a post. You can't do that. You can't, so that type of stuff is what really I had to slow down on. And one thing that was really funny, and this was a transition thing that I really realized when I went up to San Diego to Camp Pendleton with the Wounded Warriors, is that I'll never forget the first time I got sick when I retired and didn't know what to do. Because from when I was little, from when I was little and had mom and dad taking care of me, to when I was in college, had UCLA taking care of me, and then when I was in the NFL, I had NFL taking care of me. Anytime I would get sick, I would go to the facilities. What's wrong? Okay, you have the doctor there. Well, when that was done and I got sick, I'm like,
this stuff you don't even think of, man.
You really don't, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't. What do I do? Not realizing.
I just want to lay down and somebody take care of me.
I have the best insurance in the world. We don't know that type of stuff because you just don't ever use it, because all we do, we just drive to the facility. I don't feel good. They go, okay, here you go, blah, blah, and you go back home and you feel well. That was the first I'll never forget, because I was so sick and I was just sitting in my room, and she was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I don't know. She's like, go to the doctor. I was like, who do I go to? Where do I go? I had no clue of what to do. I really didn't. that's how structured
It
our
seems
lives are.
somebody watch it or even listen to it. That seems like it could be such like, are you kidding me? You don't know where to go when you're
I had
sick,
no
but
idea.
because of the lifestyle you live, that is a huge transition
Mm.
of going from one place to the next. And I'm gonna save. We're gonna talk more about that in a moment. But for you, Billy,
Mhm.
what were a couple things that, or even one big thing that you experienced when you transitioned out?
I think for me, my story has been interesting. Is the least the word that I can use. You know what, man? I think when I retired, for one, the year I tore my Achilles and won the Super Bowl,
Hmm.
I became depressed, emotionally just in the
Well,
tank.
just real quick, I'm gonna intervene here.
Mhm.
For those of you that don't know, uh, I've known Billy. I worked for Billy. We ran a training
Mhm.
facility. We were doing NFL combine training. I was his director of operations and lead guy there. And so I got to experience and walk through a little bit of this with Billy. And one of the things I can tell you, uh, audience, is that he had to, he'd played that many years in the NFL. And the year that his team wins the Super Bowl, he stood on the sideline on crutches.
Yep.
And so that was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for that, like Skip as well, you play from from your 7 years old to make it to get to high school, then to college, and then when you make it to the NFL, now there's only one goal, right, to win a Super
Hmm.
Bowl. So to play at that time, and then to get to a point where, and my the Saints were like undefeated too. I mean, it wasn't like this was a run like this is going to happen, and I think for me that year started my depression. It started
Mm.
me down a path of um, depression is the word I'm going to use, but it was bad. And I think then when I retired, we were working together.
Hmm.
I was still depressed. I thought I could surround myself with certain people to make me feel better. I thought I could throw money at things to make me feel better. I thought that I could do a lot of things that like it'll just fix itself. But to be honest with you, I stayed. My transition from the NFL was terrible. I stayed depressed for years. Like I may now just have a handle on it.
Mm.
I think
Mm.
now I think there was I didn't watch a football game until last year.
Mm.
I couldn't even watch a game. And not because I felt like I should be out there, it hurt,
Mm.
right? Like it was just something that you don't know. This part of what I hope we're talking about is you no longer know who you are,
Yeah, it's
right?
identity.
You really have
You don't
no
realize how
clue.
much your identity is wrapped in something.
No.
So to just to share,
Yeah.
and this is what I would want our audience
Mm-hmm.
to connect with. So I went from working for you,
Mm-hmm.
where somebody would say, "Well, what do you do?" I train NFL athletes. I work for a guy that plays in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I go to NFL football games and sit in Reggie Bush's
Yeah.
box because I know Reggie Bush, and and then all of a sudden I leave working for you. You exit out of the NFL. I go to work as a sixth grade Bible teacher, and now people say, "So what do you do?" And I'm like, I'm a teacher." And
Yeah.
I went through an identity crisis, and it was a transition in my
Yeah.
life. And I share that because I don't, we're talking about life transitions. It happens in all of us. And
Mm-hmm.
to hear guys at the top struggle and how you were, and now I want to transition to how we overcome that
Mm-hmm.
and how are you doing now and what are some things that you can recommend to people when you go through a time in a season like that. I just think that's the value of living in community. That's the value of living in Christian community
Mm-hmm.
is that we share, we're vulnerable, we're transparent,
Yeah.
and that's a key to helping us all progress.
Yeah.
No, you
Right?
know what's really funny about that? Um, when I hit my depression,
Mm.
it was when my son started school.
Because he wasn't there
He
every day,
wasn't there.
and you didn't have a place to go.
Exactly.
Mm. That's interesting.
Because when I got out of the league because of him to get the family back together, when he started kindergarten, that's when
Wow.
I got lost.
Mm.
Because
Wow.
everything was so structured with him. I would get up in the morning, and even though I was out of the league, I was working out. I would take him. We'd go like to the sand dune, Manhattan Beach. We would do all kind of stuff. I mean, I was so structured with him. When he started kindergarten, I didn't even know I was depressed. Like Billy was saying, I didn't even know. I had nothing to do. I would drop them off. I would go back home, and I would go right back to bed. I gained almost 70 pounds. Had no idea. Just sitting there. Wife was like, "What's wrong? You don't do nothing." I'm like, "I'm fine. What do you mean I'm not do nothing?"
So let's make a transition here. Let's transition into talking about. So I know, Billy, you actually still stay connected to some guys you played with, some guys that are still in the league that are getting ready for their transition, and you talk with them. I know you still connected, Skip, with some guys. What are some things that you guys talk about? What are some nuggets or some recommendations or some pieces of advice that you can give to people that go through transitions? What do you?
I think for me, I mean, let me start off by saying this too. This idea of transitioning for professional athletes, and when I say this, I literally mean it. I've probably talked 5 guys off a bridge. Like, it's a real issue, right? Like it's something that is not like isolated to race. It's not isolated to financial. It's not. This is something that is a real thing, and I think what happens is, right, for me, you play in NFL and you even, sometimes I was a starter, so, but I'm at the pinnacle of everything, right? You are a celebrity, you're everything. And I think when you get done, you try to equal that success with something. I want an equal amount of success. I want an equal amount of celebrity. I want an equal amount of money. I want an equal amount. And I think for me, you're chasing the grandioso picture, right? You're chasing this. I have to be a CEO in a month, right? I have to make $1 million in 6 days. You're chasing this idea because you're trying to equal it to what you just came from. And I think for me, in talking to guys and what has helped me, I need small victories. I need small wins. I need to have one win a day. What is that? It could be literally, it started off with, today I'm going to do them dang dishes. Just today. And I'm going to win. I'm going to win at something today. Because when you're chasing that big idea, you are losing every day.
You have more failure in life.
Every day
in
you're
your
losing,
day-to-day.
right? Yeah, because you woke up, you're not the CEO. You go to bed, I'm still not the CEO. You lost, right? Because that's the only idea you have. So for me, it was a transition of getting small wins. I had to get to a place where I could say I accomplished something today. And that helped me with my own personal depression. It helped me become kind of whole again, because I think when you transition from something, just like I can imagine that CEO, that, okay, you're the CEO of a company, now you're going to deliver the mail. Oh, he must be going absolutely crazy, right? He probably feels he knows everything. He probably, right? And then for me, it was the same thing. Why am I not successful? I'm super smart. I know everything. I'm strong. I'm this. I'm like all of these things that you identify yourself with. And that would be my advice, is to find something that there's small wins. Find something that you can get small victories every day, because when you lay down at night, you can feel accomplished in that, right?
Yeah. The human heart is bent on a meaning, purpose, and knowing that you're accomplishing things in life.
Yeah.
What would Skip? What would you suggest for you? What have you found to help you climb out of that? So what happened after your son went to school? Where did you start climbing out? Was it dishes? Was it?
No, I started thinking and realized football wasn't my first love. It never was my first love.
Okay.
And when I realized that, and I started thinking back on all my friends who played football and wasn't in my situation, and I had conversations with guys, and they used to always tell me, they'd be like, "Man, I hate football." And I was like, "You hate football, man?" I was like, "You're making $10 million a year." And they're like, "Yeah, because I'm not stupid. How many other things, you can do, make $10 million a year doing this, and by the time I'm 20, I can retire and go do what I really want to do." So I started thinking about it.
So they start doing it because of the money, the legacy money.
Exactly. One of my best friends I met in Washington. We got drafted together. He got drafted in the 4th round, Sean Barber, and I met him there, and I was like, "Man, he's from Richmond, Virginia. He's like, "Man, I didn't start playing football until my junior year in high school, only because I wanted to go to college." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't really like football. It's just this was my way out." And I started thinking, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I enjoy football because I'm good at it, but I was like, this ain't my first love. And I started getting back to what I enjoy doing, things like that.
Okay.
So it's funny because yeah, my son, he's a great athlete, but I always really kind of kept him away from football because I don't know if it's his first love or not. You know, people always used to come around and be like, "Hey, is your son gonna play football?" And I was like, "I don't know." You know, there's other sports that I'm like, "Yeah, you're gonna play," because like track, I always sit
Would
there
they
and
look
say,
at you cross-eyed because, like,
"Yeah, they
you
really
Skip
would."
Hicks, you
Yeah,
know, NFL guy, you're not gonna let your kid play football?
yeah, they really would look at me like that, and
Hmm.
I'd be like, "Whenever he plays, he plays." You know, I figured he'll learn as he grows. You know, I just kind of put him here, put him there to protect him as he grows and he starts learning. And, you know, it is what it
Hmm.
is, you know. And when I started looking back on that, I think I started getting out of my depression and said, okay, now I got to figure out the way that I got to start doing
So,
things I enjoy. And
so what? So you identified that football was not your first love.
yes,
What have you realized? What is your love?
uh, I love planes, man.
You love planes?
Yeah. I always wanted to be a fighter
Airplanes?
pilot. Yeah.
Okay.
I always
I
wanted,
learned something new today. I didn't
no,
know that.
I always wanted to
Known
be
you
a
for a long time.
I
Never knew you
always
loved
wanted to be a
planes.
fighter pilot, and I turned down the academy because at the time, I thought if I went to the Air Force Academy that I wouldn't have been able to
Play football.
play football as far
Mm.
as going to the NFL.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I almost went back
Do
when
you fly?
I don't because the wifey won't let me. You know, she won't.
So
Like
we found
I
your
came
first love,
I came
your wife.
this close.
Yeah, I was about to say it's.
I came
That's a good
this
thing.
close going into the Air National Guard to fly F-15s. But she was like, "They're gonna steal you to Iraq.
Would you
You're
fit?
You're gonna."
Would you
No,
fit in the
no
plane?
chance.
He's not
No
gonna fit in
chance.
the plane.
Well, I could have lost the weight. If it was
Ejection
plane.
seat not coming out. Like it's a whole lot of stuff that's
I
not
gotta
working.
ride it down. But I fly remote control planes all the time. I got all kind of stuff like
Okay.
that. And it's funny because now that's the stuff I feed Caleb, my son,
Mm.
and he loves it. He loves all type of stuff like that. We go to air shows. You know, we do all kind of stuff like that. So my whole thing is I'm teaching my son there's other things more important
Mm-hmm.
than football and things like
Okay.
that. But don't get me wrong,
Pursue it.
son. There's ways to get what you need to get. And
Mm-hmm.
if, say, you want to go to a great school like Stafford because you want to be an engineer and you're a great athlete, you can use your athletic ability to
Mhm.
get you there.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean you have to go and be an NFL player. Now, if that happens, hey, there's nothing wrong with going and getting a little money to help you get where you need to get.
Okay.
You know, but don't feel that that is where you have to go. You
So
know,
let me ask you guys this. We've talked about a lot of different things, and one of the things Core4Power is about equipping people to harness the power of four core energy systems. That is their faith, their fitness, their family, and their finances, in order to live a fully engaged life. Out of those four core areas, faith, fitness, family, finances, Billy, which one would you say is the one you harness the most power in that affects the most?
That's tough because obviously, right, like your first initial like gut reaction is to say faith,
Mhm.
right? Like that's natural, right? And we had a conversation about being
Mhm.
authentic, right? And I would say my faith is a ginormous part of my power. But to be honest with you, it's my family, right? I
Okay.
think for me, Skip said it too. I, I'm cool at a bunch of things. I'm a great dad, right? Like my kids empower me every day,
Okay.
whether I'm mad at them, it doesn't matter. Just to know that I'm watching and I'm helping and I'm along for this journey with them. Everything that I tend to do, right? So we work because we have to, but I want to make enough money that I can pay for him to go to Stanford if he can't get a scholarship. Like I want, so watching. I never thought I'd like girls softball ever in my life. Right now, I think it's like watching my daughter play. I'm so empowered by because they don't care whether or not I played in the NFL. They could care. They could care less what I did. They just want to know what and how are you doing today,
Mm.
and that
And that
and
you care for them.
that's it, right? And there's no judgment. There's
Mhm.
no that our biggest problem is if I tell them to stop Pokemon going or like stop, get off the PlayStation or get off the computer. I think those issues are our biggest
So
issues.
would you say that you use the word empowered, which is
Mhm,
one of my favorite words?
mhm.
You would you say that you harness a power and an energy? Now, I'm not. I say this all the time. I'm not talking about mystic
No,
energy
yeah,
or
yeah,
nothing like
no, I
that. I'm
got you.
talking about a
Hmm.
real raw energy that motivates you
Hmm.
to to do life and do life well. Would you say that that's what family does for you?
I, I would. I mean, listen, every area is going to have its peaks, like, right? We can talk about faith, and we can do
Yeah.
that for another
Yeah.
20 minutes. We can talk about finances, right? Which, as a man, right,
Hmm.
like it absolutely drives me to, and it's not necessarily I need to make a certain amount of money. It's just I want to be successful, which then brings a certain amount of
Hmm.
money. But when you talk about what drives me, absolutely, it's my kids. Even like now, right? Me and Skip coach together, and
Hmm.
we were coaching. I don't know
Hmm.
what happened. You left, and then like you're holding out for more money, but
I gotta go. I gotta go.
It's a podcast.
I'm walking behind you,
yeah,
clean up all the
that's
messes.
true, which is a lot. But I think even right, like people ask me all the time, what do you do for a living? And I tell them, right, and then all of a sudden it's what are you passionate about?
Mm.
Completely different,
Hmm.
right? I'm passionate about coaching kids. I'm passionate about youth sports. I'm passionate about. I mean, it like there is something that is built up
Mm.
before practice, before a game, before and this is not football. This could be my son's in the pool. It could
Hmm.
be my daughter in a softball field. Things I know nothing about. It brings a certain level of that
Mm.
emotion that I may have missed when I played in the NFL. It's empowering.
And so, what I'm hearing from you, and I want all of our Core4 Power tribe to understand that when you are intentional about your fatherhood,
Mm-hmm.
intentional about your parenting,
Mm-hmm.
that matters.
Oh,
You have
it's
to
an
be
understatement.
intentional
Yep, it's an
about
understatement.
how you father a child. And there, I just did a podcast a while back. One of the episodes was on the 5 golden nuggets of effective parenting,
Mm-hmm.
and these were just me drawing from scripture and the things that I've learned. And so I'm hearing from you that you have an agreement that being intentional in fatherhood, you draw power and
Mm-hmm.
purpose in life from that.
Yeah, and for me, like you said, being intentional, there's such joy in it,
Mm.
right? Like there's so much into it, right? Even when you have a conversation with your child,
Mm.
even when you get to a point where you have to discipline your child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another podcast, but my upbringing was all over the
Yeah,
place. I'll
yeah.
just say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now being able to say, I know that maybe if I try this different with my kid, I'll get a different result than maybe I had. Or, the, man, I could go on forever, but I love it. I think my parenting and my kids mean the world to me, and they've done a lot to save my life.
So Billy Miller, his power, if he picks one in his Core4 Power, it's going to be family that
Mm.
drives him, and he harnesses that. Skip, what would you say that out of the four, faith, fitness, family, finances, is probably where you draw your greatest power that affects the other four in the other three in your life?
Probably up until about 5 years ago, I'd have to say family, but now it has to be faith. And I have to say faith because at first it was family, and I thought it was supposed to be family.
Mm.
And after a while, when I really started to get deep and start to understand, how people always say, there's a certain time when you have a true calling.
Mm.
And that's when Jesus started really reeling you in, like, okay, it's your time now. I think that was about 5 years ago. And that's when I realized because everything was about my son, you
Mm.
know. That's my only
Mm-hmm.
boy, and everything was like, okay, I got to make sure everything is right. Okay, I got to do this, everything, you got to raise them right. You got to do everything right because you got to raise them up to God and everything. And it was all about him.
Mm.
And then I started to realize, that I was putting him before God.
Mm.
And that's when I started backing up.
Okay.
And that's when you start hearing the stories about Abraham's faith and how deep it was that even though God stopped him, he went up there to kill his son.
Mm-hmm.
And that he didn't know how, but he wasn't going up there hoping that God was going to stop him. He went up there saying, okay, God is going to bring him back from the dead.
Mm.
It was a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started to be like, okay, I need to back up because it can get deep enough from the stories that you see in the Bible, because this flesh, hey, it's nothing to God. And if God has to take something away to show you something, when I started to realize that, especially at an age to where he always takes care of the little ones, if he has to take my son, that just ripped me up, man. I'm like, oh gosh, man, sorry, hey. Like, you know what I mean? That's when I start backing up, like I'm doing good, and I wasn't.
I had a buddy tell me one time, do you know why God let you fall into the pit?
Why is that?
It's because there's no pride in the pit.
I've heard that before.
Exactly.
Gentlemen, I greatly appreciate you. We're running out of time. We could probably do another 4 or 5 episodes and unpack each of these. What I like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to transition into
I'll shorten my answers up for you.
what's that?
I'll shorten my
No,
answers up.
I'm going to make you. Here's one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you one last question.
All right.
The basis of this whole show is something that Jesus said. Resonated with me. I wrestled with it for a number of years before I even started this podcast. In the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10, John 10:10, he says, "The thief comes to steal, to kill, and destroy, but I have come to give life and give life to the full." What do you think Jesus meant, briefly? What's life to the full? Billy Miller.
Man, I mean, you're just going to throw it on me first?
You said you were going to be short.
In his blessing.
Okay.
I think that that God's plan for our life is something that we can't even envision, right?
Okay.
And I think that what he's talking about is the devil. And you can do it one way, or you can do it my way.
Okay.
And my way is life to the fullest, and I think that means everything.
Can it be all core, all 4? Can it be your faith, your fitness, your
Absolutely. Listen, once the faith part is there, everything else can fall into place. There's nothing else that, I mean, you can throw anything.
So when Jesus comes and offers you a full life, it can encompass all those.
And more, right? I mean, like, listen, first of all, we're talking about Jesus. So, like, I will stop because I could go forever. But listen, I think that's exactly right. I think that once you can solidify that first one, then everything falls into place, and you could have a core 28. I mean, you could go forever, right? Everything that you want and that you give it to God, you can have.
What do you think Jesus meant, Skip?
Yeah, I'm thinking, that a lot of people get caught up in everything else, Jesus said it was going to be simple. Everybody try to figure out the whole meaning of life, man. He said it was simple. He took away all the when he came and died on that cross. He said, all I want you to do is believe in my Father and believe in what I did. And that's it. That's it.
So to walk with him.
Yes, that's it. Just love everybody like I love you, and that's it. Have the faith, and that's it.
There's a passage
there's no tricks. That's
in John 16:33. Jesus says, "I tell you all these things so that in me you may have peace." But then he says, however, in this world you're going to have trouble, but I have overcome the world.
Strong.
And there's something in that truth. And I'm wrestling with it too, but Core4Power is about finding that life to the full. And I believe that if you are harnessing the power of your faith, if you are harnessing the power of your physical health, fitness, if you are harnessing the power of your family and intentional with your fatherhood, your being a husband, if you are intentional with going out and working hard and providing, you will thrive, and meaning, purpose, and influence will take care of itself.
Yes.
And so,
Preach, brother.
We got
Preach, brother.
We got 4 last questions,
That's
and they have to
great.
be quick. This is called
Promise.
the power round.
Okay, go.
And the power round is all about leaving our audience, the Core4Power tribe, 4 golden nuggets, things they can take home and I guess resources. Number 1, quickly, Skip. If you were to give the audience your one favorite book and or any other resources that you could recommend them to, what would it be?
Oh,
Other than the Bible.
Oh, see, I was just going to say there's
You
only
about to
one
cheat?
book.
That's why
I
you
get-
so
Because
cheat.
there's only one book.
You gonna
There's
cheat?
only one book.
What's another one?
Oh man. Oh, jeez. Oh my God. What's the name of that book? I'm looking at it and I see the book. Any book? You know, we just got through reading the book of Jasher. You know?
Jasher?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I think people get away from that type of stuff. You know, we read the regular books. I think people need to start getting into the books that's been taken out of the Bible. Start getting into the deep of the stuff, you know.
Okay.
We take Hebrew classes every once in a while to get into the deeper meaning of what it really means.
Okay.
The words that's in there,
So
man.
you're saying to expand beyond Scripture, study
Yeah.
Scripture, but expand beyond that, and that would be a
Expand.
resource.
Yeah.
And I'll put some stuff on the website so that we can give some resources to people.
Yeah.
What would be one book or one resource that you would
I got
recommend?
two.
Okay.
The Shack. That's my book.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
That's my book.
I liked it. There's a lot of people that have problems
I
with it.
loved it. I loved it. And Alchemist.
Okay, and The Alchemist.
Alchemist.
I have not read The Alchemist, and shame on me
Yeah.
because it's been referred
You
to.
got to be
many-
ready to read The Alchemist, though. You have to be able. You have to be someone that can read a book and look for the deeper meaning. It's not just like Jack and Jill went up the hill. Meaning, right? Like you have to find out what it means for
I
you.
think you
But
were
anyway,
telling me
we got-
about that book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Tell me
was
about
telling
that.
you about it, but it's cool. Go ahead.
You were telling me about that. Yeah, but, yeah.
Coach, Skip, what is one personal discipline that you practice on a regular basis
Ooh.
that is effective for your life? What is one personal discipline?
One personal discipline that I practice every day
On a regular basis.
on a regular basis. I know this sounds simple, but it ain't really that simple. Every day I wake up and I stay focused on what I'm supposed to do that day.
Okay.
And like I said, I know it sounds simple, but it's really not. You know, if whatever I have to do that day, as far as okay, this is my plan for that day from beginning to end, I stay focused and I start that day on what I'm going to start and I finish the day.
Intentional focus on planning a day and being accomplished by the end of it.
Yes, I finish
Good.
the day.
That's good. That's good. Billy, what would be a personal discipline that you practice on a
I-
regular
I-
basis?
Well, again, sounds crazy or not crazy, but simple. But I have a conversation with God.
Okay.
I
So
don't
you
pray.
open with-
I have a conversation
Conversation.
with God.
That's good.
I think that
That's real good.
for me, when you talk
That's
about
really
the
good.
things that I've been through from, the depression that we talked about earlier, or trying to be a good father, or whatever it is you're trying to do, I think for me is I have to have a conversation. This
Okay.
is, I'm hurting today. This
Okay.
is where I'm at. And I feel that it's a two-way conversation. And I
Okay.
think that it helps me.
That's good.
Amen. Question 3 on the power round. What is a piece of advice that somebody in your life has given you that you would like to share with our audience that's stuck with you throughout your days?
Don't worry about things you can't control.
Mm.
I tell myself that every day. Every day.
Don't worry about things you can't control.
Yeah, because they'll drive you crazy. Because there's a lot of things in this world
Scripture
you can't
says,
control.
why do you worry about tomorrow when today has enough troubles of its own?
Yes.
Gosh, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Matthew
Yeah.
6:34.
Yeah.
What about you, Billy?
It sounds crazy. So I remember I was playing basketball. My dad came up to me and he was like, "You know what? What are you doing?" Right? And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You need to play billy ball." Right? Let me explain to you. My dad was telling me to be authentic.
Mm.
Be me, right? Don't emulate someone else. Be you. Being you is enough, right? And this was, I don't know, maybe my sophomore year in high school, but it stuck with me about being authentic. Just not saying, well, he did this, so let me. Not that you can't look at things and learn, but being true to myself and being authentic is something that is stuck with me.
Last question. Skip.
It's going to be a tough one, isn't it? I know it
It
is.
has to do with legacy.
Mm.
What's the legacy
Oof.
you want to live in your life or leave with your life?
Oh, man. You know?
When we started this, I think there was sunlight.
I know.
Yeah.
So what's the legacy you want to leave in your life?
You know,
Skip Hicks.
it's funny you say that because I always think about it a little bit. And it's just simple. I want I'm laughing, but it's simple because I just want people to be like, you know what? That was a man that had faith. That was a man, and I know people don't really know when you take your last breath where you're gonna go, because no, that's between you and God. What's in your heart? Because we always sit there and we talk, and there's a lot of scriptures that sit there and say, you might see one thing on the outside, but you never know what's going on in the inside. But I want people to say, hey, he made it.
Okay.
He made it. Job well done. He
Amen.
made it.
Okay.
Just by maybe, I know,
And
like
when
I said, it's hard to say, but if they
Mhm.
sit there and say, at my funeral, they're like, yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Skip Hicks was a true godly man of faith.
Yes.
Beautiful. Billy Miller.
My legacy. Quickly, my legacy is born. They're my children, right? Part of my legacy is them. How I raise these children, what they become, is part of our legacy as a father. But to be honest, I think same thing as my dad. I'd like to be authentic. I'd like people to be like, you know what? I didn't agree with everything he said. I didn't like everything he said. I may have not even liked him, but he was real. He was. This is who he was, right? And to be able to, it's hard sometimes to be authentic, right? It's very hard. It's hard to tell people the truth all the time, even though it's going to hurt them and you, right? But I'd like to just be just a guy that was authentic, a guy that was real, a guy that just I didn't walk around and try to be something that I thought I was supposed to be. This is who I am. I'm vulnerable. I'm emotional. I love some Jesus. This is who I am. This is the way I think. And not that I'm not trying to change those ideologies, but I think at the same time, this is really me, and be able to express that to people and hope that they can get something from it.
Well, I like to take the end of each interview and take some time to affirm and speak over each guest. I'm going to start with you, Skip. In getting to know you, my friend, I see a man who loves people. You, as Billy has said before, you are a social butterfly. But there is something so pure and so good about that. You come, I have the privilege of working at the school that your son goes to. I see you in the hallways just serving teachers, serving people, being around the kids. You're bigger than life around here, and the fact that you have a servant's heart makes I think your legacy is going to be fulfilled. That people will know that you were a man of faith because of the way you serve them, and that's what Jesus calls us to: is servant leadership, servant type faith. And you display that, man, and I'm encouraged by that, and I thank you for being that kind of man. So thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Mr. Miller, known you a little bit longer, and what I can tell you is I want to affirm just that God has gifted you with just an amazing, charismatic personality that brings life into a room. Your laugh, your sense of humor, keeping things light, not being afraid to challenge somebody, but yet not take it personal, and move through life in a way where you're kind of like a King David. You got a lot of stuff.
Yes. 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 Okay, go. Okay, go.
Yeah, all the interview came to that moment,
Yes.
right? And I see King David with a lot of flaws, but I also see, when I read about King David, just the purity of his heart.
Love him. I love King David.
And
I'm
you
so
have
happy you
that,
said
brother.
that. Absolutely.
And so I
Appreciate it.
appreciate that about you and our friendship with both you guys. And I want to give you 15 seconds. What's one last parting word you would like to leave to the Core4Power tribe?
Just take every day one day at a time, and don't worry about things you can't control. And hey, don't worry about tomorrow. Just take care of today.
Are you on social media, Skip?
I think so.
How can people get a hold of you? Can they follow you on Facebook, Instagram?
I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I don't have like Tweeter.
Tweeter?
I did say Tweeter.
Dang.
Tweeter.
I don't have any stuff like that, you know.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't,
So that means I got to interview you more so people can follow you.
yeah.
Tweeter.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have
Skip
yeah, I don't-
Hicks.
yeah.
You might be able to find him on Facebook.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
Tweeter. You
I'm
won't
not-
find
I'm
him on
not-
you
Tweeter,
won't
though.
I'm out at practice.
All right.
You know,
People will find you
hopping fields. You
at
know.
Oaks Christian School in Westlake,
Yeah.
California, coaching up young men.
Yeah.
That's
Whole
where they'll find you.
Foods.
Whole Foods.
Yeah, I hit up Whole Foods every once in a while.
Okay, okay.
Mind about.
Very
Mind
good,
about.
very good. Mr. Miller, last closing words. What would you like to leave the Core 4 Power Tribe with?
I think for me,
Never run against UCLA.
yeah, no, bad school. I think for me, I was happy to be here. I think having an opportunity to be next to you, talk to you, and kind of get in. I mean, we could have got really deep in some stuff, but
Yeah, we could've.
I'd say from my personal standpoint, man, just keep fighting, right? Like this journey is just that. It's a journey. There's gonna be ups and downs and everything in between, and just keep fighting, right? Like there's always a light. Even sometime when that train is so far away you can't see it, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think if we just keep fighting, stay focused, yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
man. Well, everybody,
I have a social media too.
Oh, Billy, tell people how they can connect with you.
My Twitter. No, I'm just joking. To be honest with you, I'm trying to slow down on social media. When I used to play, I had it, but I think my Instagram is BillyMiller_83.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
you are on. I'm
you
on
are too.
Instagram.
He is.
Yeah.
I know he is.
Yeah,
but
I am
just,
on Instagram.
I didn't know if it was like a secret or something, so I wasn't gonna put it out there.
But
It's
I
cool
don't
though.
I don't do nothing on Instagram.
Yeah.
Do I? I don't do nothing.
I'll tell you what. What will happen if you go to the show notes, you go to jademolina.com, and you go to the show notes. I will have all their contact info there that they want to give you, so that you can follow them and you can check in on what these gentlemen are doing. But this is the Core 4 Power podcast, and I am so thrilled to have had Billy Miller and Skip Hicks, two NFL veterans, living life, raising families, as guests today. So this is us three checking out. We always give. I'd love for you guys to give a salute. So
music going out. Like
we'll get out.
Oh, I can really beatbox. So anyway, go. We taking up
So
too much
Jade
time.
Molina, Skip Hicks, Billy Miller, signing off. Thank you for checking in.
Is it down or is it
It's
up?
down. It's you can
like
snap it. There's all kinds of anyways.
here?
But
Okay.
y'all
Boom.
weren't in the,
That was better.
You all weren't in the military, so I'll let you do it however you want, right?
Okay.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
So one of the things that I want to leave you guys is that I hope that today's episode, as I always say to you guys, the Core 4 Power Tribe, is that today's episode has provoked thought in you. Not only has it provoked thought, but it causes you to go out and have a discussion with somebody about the things, life transitions, or the things that you heard here, and you walk away with nuggets to talk about with other people. But most of all, I hope that Core 4 Power podcast and this discussion today causes you to take action in some area of your life, in your faith, in your fitness, in your family, or in your financial circumstances. So now go out and live life to the full.
I lost 40 pounds.
And that's it.
Hey, throw some fitness.